Rev up your engine! Well, welcome to Tennessee. Look how fast I set up my garage. Actually, I have two of them now. This is the clean one. The other one needs cleaning out. But today, we're going to talk about a Mazda Miata. You can buy them cheap, but are they worth it? We're going to go through this one and show you. All right, this is a 99 Mazda Miata. Paid $1,100 for it as it stands now. And interestingly enough, this one came from a scrapyard. So the customer bought it, and with the jump starter got it running, then actually drove it 100 miles back to his house. Not a bad deal. Didn't have to pay to ship it. And here's the cool thing. All this interior stuff is missing, but the junkyard gave it to them. Said, you're buying the car, pick out what you want from the other Miatas. So the interior is actually in decent shape. Now this is a classic 5-speed standard transmission, fun to drive, and really, for a Mazda, it's only got 128,000 miles on it. And that's basically nothing. I've seen it with 228,000 miles. But check under the hood, it's even still got the prop rod. A lot of them won't have the prop rod. All right, this little bitty engine puts out 140 horsepower. Reliable engine, can last a long time. Aside from a little valve rolling, that's normal on these. It does not sound bad. No rod knocking, that little bit of rattling, that's normal on one of these Mazdas with 120,000 miles. Nothing to worry about. And check this old baby out. The AC still blows cold. Now the Mazda Miata is the only sports car, 2-seat roadster, that sold more than 1 million models. The only thing you really got to worry about is rot. We're going to check the frame. Got a little hammer here. As we come out from under, no rust on the wheel wells. And what do we have here? I thought this was a Mazda Miata, but it's got Honda wheels on it. Check it out. Left front is Honda, left rear is Honda, right rear is Honda, and right front is Honda. And they're very nice rims too. That's one advantage of buying something from a salvage yard. He said he wanted better rims. The guy says, take whatever you can find that fits, we don't care. 4 beautiful Honda rims. Kind of interesting. A Miata with Honda rims. Shows a little bit of novelty. Something you're not going to see every day. Might make people's heads spin. They might look at it and see the H Honda and say, what kind of a Honda is that? Is that an S2000? Of course, it's not nearly as fast as an S2000. It doesn't sound like one either. But you might be able to fool a few people there. Now, these Miatas are pretty convenient cars. They still have a reasonable amount of trunk space in them for a rag top that goes up and down. They're not all that bad. And you can see, it sounds solid. It doesn't sound cheap and tinny like a lot of vehicles do. Now, the advantage of buying these dirt cheap like this is, hey, you want a rag car, clear coat over all the faded paint, or if you really want, it's a very small car. You can repaint this car easily. Think about it. It doesn't even have a top, convertible top, so you don't have to paint the top. That's kind of the hardest part of a car to paint because you're up in the air. These things are very easy to paint if you want to paint it, or like I say, you can turn it into a rat car like a lot of people do. You can pick and choose what you want to do. Now, this particular Miata is kind of symptomatic of a lot of things in our society. It was thrown away in a salvage yard. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty good, decent, basic car to start fiddling around with. You would be surprised at stuff that goes in the junkyard. People get rid of them because they don't run for some reason or not, or the paint's faded like this was, or, you know, it didn't even have wheels on it. But that doesn't mean that much with one of these Miatas. They are pretty much the Miata version of a Toyota Corolla, although they're convertibles. These things can basically run forever. There's so many aftermarket parts for them. They're cheap to either customize or just flat out repair. And really, even though this thing is a 99, it's still stylish because it is a 2-seat roadster. Their styles do not change all that much over time. Still a decent looking car. And I mean, if you wanted to put a hot paint job on it, it would really be sharp. So let's take it for a spin. Now, in typical Mazda fashion, starts right up. And as you can hear, it's still pretty smooth. It's not particularly vibrating. The shifter isn't shifting and shaking. It has no problems backing up a steep hill. Let's see what this thing can do. Still got a lot of those 140 horses. They're basically fun, sporty little cars. More smiles per miles for this kind of money. And you can have fun going around in circles too. Ah, the circle of life. Now, so much for those naysayers that say, oh, the Mazda Miatas, they're girly cars, they don't have enough power. Hey, for the weight of these things, they have plenty of power. Yeah, they're not high end, they don't go a zillion miles an hour, but they're a lot of fun to drive. Plus, this is probably the easiest standard transmission in the world to learn how to drive. If you already have a driver's license, you say, but I don't know how to drive a standard, I guarantee you, take about 10 minutes and you'll be able to drive this thing all over the place. They're so smooth, hydraulic clutches, the shift is so easy to go, it is no problem learning on something like this. And after all, it's a classic rear wheel drive sports car. You can have a lot of fun with it. Now, the reason most cars are front wheel drive is because it's cheaper to make them that way, and they get a little bit better gas mileage. Got a little bitty engine in it, and it's a light body, so it gets phenomenal gas mileage. This thing still gets 29 miles a gallon on a highway. That much fun? Hey, you can't beat it. And yeah, it doesn't have the big giant tires that a lot of these guys are oogling for these days, but guess what? These little tires, they don't cost that much. You can get really good, reasonably priced tires for this thing if you drive it hard. And if you drive it hard, you'll find out you wear the rear ones out about 4 times faster than the front ones. Now, I have to say, I fell in love with the Mazda Miata Grand Touring that I road tested a few months ago, but that was $31,000. This was $1,100. You know, I think I'd have a lot more fun in an $1,100 one, to tell you the truth, because I'm a cheapskate. And if you wanted to have even more smiles with this, for about $2,000, you can get a supercharger. Throw that on this thing. Then it would really fly. Then it would be putting well over 220 horsepower out. But really 140 ponies on this old thing, it's still a lot of fun. It's not a race car, it's a fun car. And my customer who bought this for $1,100 in a junkyard of all places, I think he got a pretty good deal on this car. Because the body's all clean, yeah, the clear coat's coming off and it needs the hood repainted. And the bumper repainted, but you expect that on a car that's that cheap. Now this here is rust, but it's just superficial rust. Somebody did a crappy Bondo job at one point in time. You can see the Bondo here. Yeah, I could have it all sanded down, have a body guy do it over. Or really, if you wanted, you just rip the fender off. Get an aftermarket fender, you can get them for 60, 70 bucks, and just repaint the whole thing. But I do have to say, the Honda wheels really set it off. Even I learned something today. The Honda wheels fit perfectly on a Mazda Miata. So if you're looking for some affordable fun, hey, don't poo-poo the Mazda Miata. They can be a lot of fun for a very little amount of money. And now I gotta put back in the garage. This is a rag top, and it's gonna rain soon. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Mark 2018 says, Scotty, you mentioned oil in a vehicle should be changed once a year, no matter how low miles the vehicle's been driven. How about unopened oil sitting on a shelf, honking at last? Well, it can last a long time. Now, when it's in your car, it's in the engine with gasoline and water. When you start your car and run it, one of the after effects of burning gasoline in our Earth's atmosphere is water vapor, so the engines do get some water build up in them. So yeah, you got to change it once a year. That said, if you got a can that's never been opened that's sealed, sitting in a garage, I'm cleaning my garage because I'm moving, right? Well, I found a case of Castrol oil in it, never been used. So I changed my oil. It works perfectly fine. Just think about it. It's engine oil. It's oil. It's petrochemicals. What? It's been millions of years hiding under the ground. As long as it's sealed, it's perfectly good. I wouldn't trust brake fluid because brake fluid is extremely hydroscopic. It absorbs water vapor. And even in a sealed can, if you got one of those plastic containers, even if it wasn't open, you'll notice they suck in after a while because somehow water vapor ends up permeating through the plastic and stuff. Now, if it was glass sealed one, it'd be a different thing, but often the seals aren't that good. So with brake fluid, no. But with regular engine oil, pretty much unlimited shelf life, really. When it's sealed, never open. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.